thanks for watching. This is Opinion versus Opinion on Old Guy Tech TV, and I'm Rob Charney. Sitting next to me is Jonathan Charney, and the guy in the middle is John Manajastic, and we're here to talk to you two about our opinions. And we're gonna dedicate today to the tragedy that happened yesterday in the Navy shipyard in Washington D.C. in a gun.
Actually, it was 2 days ago, wasn't it? Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
You mean another gun-free zone?
Yeah, in a gun-free zone, by the way. For those of you, I didn't get to finish my intro, but John doesn't care. What does he care?
Let me clear the air.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, we want to talk a little bit about this because now we're hearing the rhetoric once again coming by. Oh, we need to ban all. And Feinstein stood up. Oh, yeah, it was an AR-15 shotgun. And then, it was, the guy didn't have an AR-15. Let's get the facts straight right off the bat.
Wait, but before you go further, you should say that there's no such thing as an AR-15 shotgun.
True. Well, but wait a minute. You're getting into a crevice and you're just criticizing.
No.
Let's go with the fact that Boxer and Pelosi are, along with the California legislature, are just maniacally anti-gun.
Absolutely.
And,
maniacally
they're going to freedom. Their inaccuracies, you can't count them all, and their relevancy is at a level of zip.
Unfortunately.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, you got in California, we got the other rest of the nut jobs listening to the nut jobs, so we got a whole bag of nuts.
Well,
dealing with the gun issues here.
And we have second get married. So
well, there is a positive side. Dianne Feinstein's latest anti-journalist thing is starting to bite her in the butt. There are some people very unhappy with her, so there is some positive.
And that's another topic for another day, because as I wrote Senator Feinstein, I said, I consider myself a legitimate journalist. We do shows, multiple interviews. We have made some money, very little, but it's a paid position. Nonetheless, I'm a journalist. I have press credentials.
A beer a month he can afford.
I even have press plates on my vehicle. I am a journalist. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about is, let's go back to the naval shipyard and the situation that happened here. Okay, let's talk about off the bat. The fact is, this nut job, Alexis, he brings in a shotgun that comes apart. He has a top secret clearance. He's allowed to get into all of these secured areas of the naval.
His clearance would not get him into the building that he wanted to get into.
Well, I don't care what building he wanted it into.
He was in the facility. He was in proximity to the building. Go ahead.
Now we got different opinion, because today I heard I was watching CNN, and one of the naval shipyard guys said, no, he could have gotten with his clearance, he could have gotten into any of the buildings.
And I heard from multiple sources today that he was barred from getting into that building. And the thing about his security clearance, the craziness thing, is that he's a subcontractor.
Right.
The security clearance was granted by another subcontractor.
By the contractor.
Not by the contractor he worked for. They had to go to another subcontractor, because we don't do these things. The government doesn't do these things themselves. We've outsourced all this stuff so that another subcontractor actually grants the security clearance. I heard that he couldn't get into the building.
Okay, I heard that he had, but I'll tell you what, I worked as a contractor, if you remember, for a couple of years at the Pentagon. Okay, so I know what it takes to get in certain areas, and with his level, there were probably some areas he could not get into. There's some where his clearance wasn't high enough, but the point still was gun-free zone. He had numerous issues. Let's see. He was honorably discharged from the military. However,
I thought that he didn't have a well, they may have honorably discharged.
They did.
But they discharged him before.
They discharged him, correct, before his term.
His duration had run.
And he had a number of run-ins with law enforcement. He had a gun issue against him previously.
He tried to buy a gun in Virginia. He tried to buy an AR-15 in Virginia, but they will not sell that weapon to an out-of-state resident without a waiting period.
Right.
So he was frustrated on that. But as you said the other day, he got the shotgun.
He got the shotgun.
Right enough to know that if he if he downed a couple of security guards. Because the part that doesn't make sense to me, and what Jonathan said on the front end kind of resonates with me, and we certainly have a hell of a time getting what kind of weapon was where with who. I mean, even at Newtown, you know, did he have a shotgun? He had a gun over here, and then it was an AR-15, but that never, ever was really confirmed to me. You know, there were all kinds of claims, but it appears, as you said, he got the weapon he had in, he broke down the shotgun, brought it in, went in the restroom, did it, confronted security guards, killed them, took their weapons, and I don't know that either one of them had a long gun.
No, my understanding is
that AR-15 he did not have.
He did not have an AR-15.
Well,
that was announced today.
The question is, if this was a Navy Yard, it wouldn't have been an AR-15. It would have been an M16.
It depends.
Military issued weapon?
Well, it depends on what level, because these were private security.
Why do you have private security on a military base?
You know what I really like?
Backwater deal is that?
The military doesn't do anything but go to war anymore.
Well, okay. The other issue, which I thought was not, I hate to have any of this funny, but I found interesting. They interviewed a Marine who was in the Marine area of the Naval Yard, and he said, well, we have our M16s, only one problem. They don't give us bullets.
Right.
So they were absolutely useless. So let's give them a gun to tote around, but they don't give them the ammunition to shoot. That's literally the case at the Marine area there. So that. And
I hear the liberal description that he got up on the atrium or on the fourth floor and sprayed.
Yeah.
Did he spray with the shotgun? Did he have a Glock 9? I mean, when you say spray, I think automatic weapon.
Yeah.
And the problem was saying, oh, he was on the fourth floor shooting a shotgun at the people on the ground. Unless you're shooting...
that would kill 12 people.
The problem is, if he was shooting buckshot,
so
maybe.
They're saying he used a handgun to shoot down below. And we got to remember, we got a gentleman who was very competent with firearms. He knew what he was doing. This is not a noob.
Which, by the way, the government trained him.
He went and shot an AR-15 at a range.
Yeah. And he's military trained. He knew how to shoot. He plays second person.
He wouldn't be working as a contractor if he was not inherently intelligent.
Exactly. So
which doesn't mean he's not crazy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out exactly what it is that tipped the scale for this guy, because it's been happening for a number of years. I mean, like I said, he had issues in the military. He had a run-in with law enforcement where he lived previously.
He sought help at the VA, and as we know, it takes 2 years now for the VA. I mean, this guy was reaching out. I mean, he knew. He was hearing voices. He had the crazy. They're microwaving my body. He had all signs of a crazy. We didn't, and I'm going to go to my issue at the moment.
All right,
I have one question beforehand.
And my issue is this: you baited us with the gun-free zone.
Yeah.
And I resonate with President Obama a little bit. The issue here, folks, is, and I wrote you the note. It's got nothing to do with guns. It's obvious. Okay, because I mean, 4 people died in Santa Monica, 12 people died Navy Yard, 20 kids died at Newtown. We don't care. There's no caring here. It is a social, moral problem in the United States. It is not a gun problem.
Which, by the way, you'll never get anybody, at least in certain media outlets, to say that, because the anti-gun argument's always been, it's the gun issue. It's not the person, and that's the problem. I agree with you.
The thing of it is, it always resonates back, okay, to we need to form a database of the crazies and know where they are. No, we don't. That's more Fourth Amendment violation. We need to care as Americans, as citizens of this country, that people every 2 weeks decide to go off and for some reason of infamy or whatever, kill between 4 and 20 people. And guys, we don't effing care. It's pretty obvious to me. We don't need more guns. We don't need less guns. We need better people.
Well, here's part of the issue. If you want to take a look, I mean, look at the ghettos we have, whether white, black, purple, I don't care. It's a social, economical problem. It's a health. It's an environmental issue. You have people living...
The day-to-day shootings in Chicago and New York and L.A. and the gangbangers. Yes, but the gangbangers are not walking into the Naval Yard and taking down a dozen people.
No,
gangbangers are not walking into an elementary school in Newtown and taking
they're
down
gangbanging
20
against
kids.
themselves.
They're not walking into Santa Monica College
what I'm saying,
and killing 4 people.
They're
not gangbangers.
What I'm saying is the gangbangers were an early symptom of a system that doesn't give a shit. That's the problem, because no, it totally is.
I'm blaming the system because I mean, you want government. I mean, yeah, if we had leadership from government, but you know what Boehner and the baggers did today. Well, we're gonna default on the debt, bring the government down, and defund Obamacare. Nobody said shit about what happened at the Naval Yard yesterday.
That's true.
More gun. We have a personal, deep moral problem about wanting to of this demonstrative act of going and killing a great number of people.
Which, by the way, that's the problem you get when you have a standard for morality that's based on society itself. Doesn't particularly work.
And as I said before we got here, our friend who's in absentia, as he wanted to get into it. And he says, and you and your little radio show. And I said, just like everything else, friend, you can call it a radio show, but it's an online television show, and I know the details don't count.
Yeah.
You're discounting and slighting us, because you're an idiot. You just don't care.
You can.
Well, here,
he has downtime, so he gets on Facebook and baits and prattle. It's just, it's like, but I have facts today. Put up facts. 7 university, USA Today, 7 fracking, and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute, just put the link up here. Otherwise, it's anecdotal. I mean, if you're going to cite a source.
Hearsay.
I want to get back to a little bit about what I said about the social economic problem, because I really do think it comes back to that. You have
Jonathan,
please.
Say social economic problem, right?
John, let him finish his point. Jeez, let you two arm wrestle over the television here. Say your point, Jonathan.
See, luckily I'm the master of the control. He just might lose his volume all of a sudden. Well, no, see, this is.
Hey, the other thing you do is when you're drinking your beverage of choice, there maybe it shouldn't look like a beer.
Well, here's what I think the issue comes from. You have third, at least the beginning, and this is my opinion.
Here we go.
You have 3 or 4 or 5th generation people living in poverty, and the only way to seem to survive was a certain way. Then that escalates to violence, and the violence spreads. And I think if you take a look at it in the beginning, I think that's a point you see that society itself doesn't care. It's become selfish. It's become a society of individuals instead of society who uphold America. Immigrants came in, they begin to realize, okay, this is the American way, this is what I got to do. We were all Americans. Instead, we're black, we're white, we're Hispanic, we're Latino, we're Pacific Islanders. We're doing everything but uniting, and the problem is that
we're East Indian.
Well, exactly, and his point is well taken.
The problem, I think, is that it ended up taking more violence, and then you're not helping somebody who asked for help, because, like the VA. I've known people who are waiting for years just to get help. Right. So it's a giant issue.
And go ahead and finish. But I mean, in response, this gentleman yesterday reached out to the VA trying to get psychiatric help,
right?
And it wasn't there for him to get. So that is a sign that the bureaucracy is failing.
Well, this is the same.
But there are other essences, and it's the thing your dad Rob put up yesterday about it's a gun-free zone. We can and the way I said it, we have fallen into this rhetoric, and the fact that Congress and Boehner and Ryan and Cruz and all these guys, we're gonna bring the government down and defund Obamacare. Nothing is getting done.
Well,
the Patriot Act and 9/11,
right.
Our rights have been eroded, decimated, NSA'd.
Wait, hold on. I do have a.
Are you going to finish your point so I can get a point?
No. Well, I'm actually happy that there's a Republican House and a Democratic House, because it means I actually get less
there can be
taxed.
there can be a conversation.
I'm actually happy about that.
That's the point.
Yeah, but Jonathan, again, if you go back to when this country did great things, the top income bracket paid 81% in the early 50s and early 60s when we built highways and we sent men to the moon.
We got somebody on
the
the air.
top tax bracket was something that would just curdle your milk, brother.
Yeah. Who do we have on the phone?
Hello? You're on Opinion versus Opinion, live on Old Guy Tech TV.
Are you shy? Goodbye. Anyway.
But here's what I'm going for, is, we have become this obstructionism.
Hello, caller. Are you there? Hi. Make sure that you turn your computer speakers off.
It is. It's off.
Okay. This sounds like somebody I know.
Yeah, I was just wondering the name of your show. Is it called the John Matajasic Show?
Yeah, it's John Matajasic and John Charity and Rob Charity. Thank you very much. That's funny, Heather.
All right, well, have a great show.
Okay.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Now, Heather, the reason that you say that is I represent the only diverse opinion on the show.
Hey, you know what?
I gotta come with some weight.
I take exception to that because, as you know, I call myself a moderate. I really am.
Things you are.
Yeah, I am.
Things.
I am. I'm a social moderate. But there are some things where there are some things that I'm very, very conservative with, and I think that makes for a more rounded individual, if you want to be true. And I think, John, I think you're the same way. You're kind of, you're a little more liberal in areas than I am, but we see face to face all the time. That's why I brought Jonathan in here, so that he could be the real uber conservative.
Is this the Jonathan Charney show?
It's a Jonathan
Doesn't he have a
Charney
show of his own that he does movie reviews on?
Yeah, he does. Boy,
hey, Jonathan, pitch the phone number and send us money.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Once again, 621-1210, 530-621-1210, opinion versus opinion. Now, Jonathan and Jonathan. Okay, John and Jonathan, give me a second here. If we're going to stay on topic here, and you brought up you're talking about the social economic issues, and I think there's a different situation here. I think we have a mental health issue. I brought that up in my rant, and
I know, and he's president.
Yeah, well, we get to such a point that we have an issue, and I don't know how to solve it. The issue is, do you want the government into your medical history? And so that they can tell you what to do or not to do. And that's probably one of the major points here.
That's what they want to do.
I will give an example. The CHP has a Citizens Academy where they get citizens to come and help out and work in the office or do some traffic control and all that. And I thought, I could give 8 hours a month and help out a little bit. And the captain said, that's great. Here's all these forms. Fill out these forms. And the last page is a page waiving my HIPAA rights away so that they could call and talk to my doctor. Well, that stopped the whole conversation there because I want to go, well, what has that got to do with anything? You're not arming me. I'm just coming to help out a little bit. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying no, you're not getting my doctor's information or my personal health information. And here lies the problem, because what's happening is...
And you're volunteering. You're not being employed.
That's
you're just
correct.
Volunteering.
I'm volunteering. If I was applying for a job as a young guy in the CHP Academy, and I guess they wanted to talk to my doctor, and I wanted the job bad enough, sure, maybe I'd do that. But still, I think even the young guys... I want you to think twice before turning over your rights, your medical rights, to be held between you and your doctor. Don't give that away. It's very important because
that's a matter. That's a matter of deep Fourth Amendment.
Absolutely.
Private rights. Yeah, if you cannot talk to your doctor honestly, and
what would that happen if that got broken? How could you be honest with your doctor? How could you be treated properly if you were constantly in fear that your lifestyle could be imperiled because the government wants to get into your medical history. So here's the problem. We got nutcases out there that have not done anything particularly wrong to keep them from actually purchasing firearms legally.
Right.
All right.
And I don't. Yeah, this guy, the guy that did the Naval Yard, couldn't get a gun because of the Virginia gun laws about a non-state resident. Had nothing to do with the background check.
Which, by the way, is not uncommon.
Oh, well,
no, you have to.
Commonly cannot cross state lines.
You have to go dealer to dealer in that situation.
Here's the thing that I think is scary, because I think it ties in what Rob is saying, is the far as you get these, if you say you take depression pills, and then that will flag, oh, this guy's a danger because he takes depression pill, which, by the way, is kind of disanalogous, because all because you take depression doesn't mean you're going to kill yourself.
Or anybody else.
People in positions of responsibility with the federal government, with all kinds of things, that consume head meds that scare me.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, I pay attention to politics, and it makes me want to take depression meds. Or drink more.
Let me just interject for a second, and both of you have gone there. And what I'm saying, and what my opinion has become, and I don't think that Rob was taken aback when I said it's got nothing to do with guns anymore.
Right. It never has.
Right. But that's the, let's put it this way. That's the low-hanging fruit. The politicians want to make feel-good legislation, and the gun is the low-hanging fruit. It's easy to pick at.
It's the
right?
easy whack. But the problem of it is, I mean, just to underscore where our society has gone, a lovely and talented East Indian woman wins the Miss America contest.
Right. And
people are tweeting that she is an Arab and it's anti-American. They're effing crazy.
Which, by the way,
it shows you people don't understand the difference between the different nationalities that we have in this country.
If it was a Native American Indian, get over it.
Well, here's the issue. I mean, this really comes to the internet and the fact that nobody really knows who you are. They're trolls. They're just a bunch of neckbeards in their basement. That's the problem with the internet, is everybody becomes an asshole. If you don't believe me, read YouTube comments.
Well, everybody, believe me. Yeah, I mean, I see
John
them all
knows
the
that.
time.
We talk about it. You hide behind your Facebook or whatever.
As Joe Pesci says, it's a bunch of telephone tough guys.
I got terminated from a job, right? Because I made constructive criticism about somebody on a page on Facebook that the people that employed me didn't even have access to. Because they don't even have a Facebook account for themselves.
So somebody told them.
And somebody who actually said in the thread, you should probably look for another place to work, shared the thread with them and probably embellished it.
Right.
He used to right? And their main complaint was, I said, that they are blind to their competition. And I mean, right. So it was hearsay in the first place. I mean, I can contest it on that point. I was terminated by way of text, which never said I was actually terminated.
Just don't show up.
I didn't want to show up anymore anyway, so I said fine. Yeah. But the issue of it is it was over competition, and the person that made the post that did the deed, okay. In this particular case, they have lost 4 significant racers to one of the other tracks, not racing the same kind of racing that they're doing, but just they're more racer friendly, they're more racer conducive. And the guy that ratted me out put a post up the other day, I'm looking for this kind of car, which is the same kind of car that has nothing to do
they lost,
with the other racing.
So in other words, here we go again. What we put on, I mean, you have a page. It's got your name on it. People know who you are. And you had an employer that somehow got some information that you put.
It isn't even on my page. It's on another page that you have to be invited
good.
to be on.
Still, the point is, and I tell kids this all the time, and I'm going to need to tell the adults all the time, remember, whatever you put online in any way, shape, or form gets out.
Oh, that's why when asked, I said I quit.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I posted.
Well, anyway, so the point is that we're getting way off topic here. Let's get back to this nut job here.
Well, no, let's get back to the fact of Miss America from the standpoint of we're just mean anymore.
Well, I heard some of that not so-called. I heard criticisms because her skin is darker than
we've had African Americans.
The three of us here, and darker than maybe the African American. Indian people do tend to run very dark. If you lived in their country, you'd want to be. It's very dry and dark.
Except
hot.
during monsoon when it's wet.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, we all hope that we're kind of beyond that point, and it just shows you that we still have these idiots out here that still think things like that matter, and it just drives me crazy.
Wait a minute. Here's the question: is why don't we just ignore them? Why don't the fact that these bunch of neckbeards are there saying
the media loves feeding us the bottom of the birdcase.
So they're just like Jesse Jackson. They're a bunch of race baiters trying to drum up an argument that may not exist to the level that they think it does. I bet if you ask the 90% of Americans, I bet most are like, for one, why do I care about Miss America? And two, who gives a crap? I bet most Americans don't. I bet they're playing to the least common denominator.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking bad news and running with it. They're taking the worst in our society and saying, "Look what these people did."
They sent, some journalists were sent to the Miss America pageant, and they had nothing better to do but to write what was going on there.
The essence of this
How is that news?
The situation is, and this is the part that I am having the biggest problem with. We don't care that every 2 weeks somebody goes off and kills a bunch of people.
Of course,
he could do it with a shotgun. He could do it with a handgun. He could do it with a long gun, whatever. But we have become completely numb to the phenomenon and don't want to deal with. Hey, we have a problem in our society. I think part of the problem in the society is that we just don't want to deal with it. We don't want to identify the problem that we are nutsoid. And part of the social economic pressure that you were talking about, Jonathan, people still don't have jobs, myself included.
Right.
I mean, I'm 6 years. I think I actually got a call from the high school that wants to interview me. God, I hope they're not online. But, the frustration of the government, there's nobody helping us move forward on any level.
Well,
I'm not going to blame just the Congress. I'm going to blame President Obama. He is not an effective leader, and therefore not an effective president.
Well, I'll be honest. I think Barry's problem really comes down to the fact that...
Go back on me? You call him Barry now?
Well, that's his name, isn't it? I mean,
usually you refer to the president as Obama or Mr. Obama.
Or Mr.
Well, Barry,
Mr.
I think Barry's
Respect
problem...
the position.
I know you and Barry are hanging out, smoking a little weed, having a beer, but
it is pretty funny seeing the photos of him.
But here, I'll be honest. I think Barry's problem is the fact that we live in such a society that not only takes himself way too serious, but the fact that no politician, no matter what side, isn't willing to work on themselves with each other. Because you talk about societal issues, I think also the immigration problem comes up because no side wants to actually help, because having an immigration or stopping people from crossing actually saves lives because of the deserts of this. They don't care. The people do care, but not overwhelming. The politicians care about.
But realistically, Jonathan, the Obama administration has deported more people than since way back, maybe in the history of the United States.
The problem
and I can verify through a personal contact with an immigration judge. They are told, and there was actually a request yesterday to lighten up and stop deporting so many people, and Obama said no.
Well, here's the problem.
We have more people.
Well, here's the problem.
Get your point out. Then I'm going to take my show back.
Oh, shut up.
Go ahead.
The problem is it's not the deportation. It's the fact that when these people come, it's the fact that what they have to do to get there. It's it's a human rights issue because they have to go through all this. There's no proper channels, and it's just another sign of them not really caring.
We have proper channels to immigrate to the United States.
Apparently not enough, because there's people dying in deserts trying to cross the.
I think when we get to the point of
would you stop playing with your iPad?
We're reporting more deportations. How does that relate to the fact that we also have more people trying to come in illegally?
We don't.
Well, I think
Where's
the number.
the
I think the
we
number
have
has
more people trying to come in. 1 million in the first 4 years of the Obama administration. The evil Hispanic 1 million Mexicans voluntarily left this country.
Sure, absolutely. But there are some records showing, and I think ICE has brought out some statistics. I saw it not too long ago where.
Go to the iPad.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Well, again.
And who
trusts what figures, right? It's what you believe.
And if you're a Canadian, an Australian, or a Briton, we just think you're amusing. We don't. I mean, I dated a woman, and I was dating her for 4 months many years ago, and she was British, and I was smitten. And then one night she said, I'm here illegally.
Wow. So that's a long swim.
Hey, let's move on. One of the things, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I came across a very interesting article. Did you know that the NRA and the ACLU are actually joining forces?
For now.
Can you believe that?
Reactionary and radical. The line is very thin.
Interesting. What's happening here is they have both decided that the NSA has too much control over our telephone records and the collecting of such records. And the NRA, of course, says, you know what? If you're making a database of phone calls, you're also probably making it a database of gun owners at the same time. We've got to stop this. And the ACLU agrees. So they are both going to join forces and fight Congress on that. What do you know?
Why not?
Go play.
Somebody's got to say, stop the nonsense.
Did you hear about the AT&T thing, right?
The what?
About how they've been collecting phone records
for
the last
20 years? Yeah. How about that? And he's right. And if you heard that, AT&T has admitted that they have been recording phone calls for over 20 years.
Did you remember? Gosh, when was this movie made? The President's Analyst.
Yeah.
And that was made in the 60s.
Yeah.
With Richard Coburn. And they were tapping. They were, the AT&T were at the end of the movie. You found out the evil villain was the phone company.
Phone company. That's right. Well, they still are. It's so difficult.
PG&E, SCE, and SMUD all have those smart meters.
They're using those
meters on the side of your house.
Well, I talking about that. So the fact is, in today's society, we have very little privacy because you pointed out the fact that right outside there, I have a smart meter that reports to PG&E all the wattage that I use. I have a smart meter on my water meter as well that a meter reader comes by and he just drives by and it collects all the information. And I know how well it works because we had a broken pipeline, and I think I explained that a couple of shows ago, right? They noticed that we had an increase of water use. So they came to us going, okay, you had an increase of your water use. What happened? Good news was it was their fault, and they
show us the grow lights.
Yeah. And there you go. So what does law enforcement look for? They look for increase of power usage. They look for increase of water usage. They look for increase of traffic. And they put everything together, and it's right back to you have no privacy. Your life is an open book. They look
for circumstantial evidence and then make a criminal assumption.
Exactly.
Right.
And it depends on where you live, and it depends on what law enforcement agency wants to look at you. But you have to worry to a certain degree. And I brought up the HIPAA situation. You have to worry a little bit about the fact is we just have no damn privacy. The government wants to control everything.
But I say to you at this point, I mean, to a certain extent, mate, isn't it the chicken and the egg? Since we don't do anything. We don't do any soul searching. We don't have any great national religious leaders that get on the TV and say, people, if we are Christians, then we have to look on our souls and say, why do we want to kill one another?
Well, here's the thing.
There's socioeconomic pressure. I mean, this guy, the backstory that I initially heard, it was some beef over getting paid.
Yeah, that's what they said. He apparently had a contract that wasn't paid.
Right. So, but it is, and this lack of rights, this lack of standing of the daily citizen, right? And they're in my phone, they're on my email, they're on my meter, they're everywhere, all right? And the violation of your Fourth Amendment right to privacy is part of this total moral decay where nobody's helping it get better. The only thing that we're doing and by convincing and misrepresenting the Affordable Care Act, it's now the enemy.
We boring you, John?
Huh?
Well, I do have.
Jonathan's boring. He was yawning.
I do have a comment though. Is you do actually
We're
have
losing the show. It's falling apart.
You do actually have Christian leaders saying it. The problem is the media doesn't like Christians. Period. Because when you do have people say that, you go, then they start bashing. Oh, the problem with the Christians is the exclusivity of it, and blah blah blah. That's the main issue.
Well,
and,
let's step back a little bit. Wait a minute, Jonathan. I understand where you're coming from. As a Christian, I understand where you're coming from. That okay, but I just want to make a point that this is what happened to the Jews many decades ago as well, and continues to this day. So the Christians aren't unique.
Well, I know,
but you remember blacklisting, you remember McCarthyism, you remember that whole situation?
The reason why under God is in the Pledge of Allegiance, McCarthyism?
Right. It was not originally.
Yeah.
It was not originally in that. You knew that, right?
Oh, yeah. And
okay.
I had a more comment before you stepped on me.
Go ahead.
Well, it's not important, so continue.
Oh, I did. You want to be that way about it? Fine.
Let's not
I'll
get
go ahead.
personal. Stop
go
it.
Ahead. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Although I will tell you, I was doing a show, and two wonderful guys, and I'll give them a plug. They're the Balloon Heads. They do audio and video, and in Kingdon they provide better audio than I have at Tracks where I've worked. But one of them is a teacher, and one of them is a radio guy, and they got in a snit over something, right? And I said, guys, here's the deal. I'm a teacher and I'm a radio guy. I have this argument with myself all the time.
Well, I
like that. So go ahead, John.
Well, I think it comes down to one thing, and this is like I said, this is an opinion. I think this is what people get when they think the government is the one that gives you rights, because then they have the right to take it away. That's why I really.
But the thing of it is, the government doesn't exist unless we vote them in.
Yeah, the problem
this is the thing that people miss.
Yeah,
it is a representative democracy. So if you want the government to give, then you've got to elect the only power that the government has is the power that the people give to the government.
Well, yeah, no, and I
and we have
agree.
become, as you said, so selfish. We're so self-consumed that we forget, the government is taking away my Fourth Amendment rights. That, and it was so crazy. The guy that was going to call in today is of definitely conservative political background, but his idea was let's repeal the Second Amendment.
Right.
Wow. The reason why I say that, though, is the fact that no matter what you believe in, if you believe that our rights are given by God, they can't be taken away. And I think that's part of the issue is people don't realize that, we're born with these rights. And these asshats in Congress are trying to take away our rights. I mean, I'm so conservative, I don't care what you do, just stay out of my life.
Well, but the thing of it is that you're saying if gun ownership is a God-given right, God doesn't live in Great Britain. Because gun ownership is, the Bobbies, I think the Bobbies now carry, but for over 100 years, the Bobbies didn't carry anything but a nightstick, and nor did the public have weapons. In many places, you just can't have a weapon. So if it's a God-given right, then they're stepping all over our God-given rights. It is a right granted by the Constitution in the United States, and I go back to what I've taken. The position I've taken from day one is and I've modified my position. It's not guns. Guns has nothing to do with it. We don't need more guns. We don't need less guns. Guns aren't the problem. Guns aren't the solution. We need better people. We need to start caring about one another and caring that just in the publicized events, well over probably 400 or 500 people will be killed with some nutball going off, misreported in the media, spraying with an AR-15 shotgun, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they don't care.
I'll be completely honest. I could never have enough guns.
Okay, I understand. Stand where you come from, Jonathan. I think, John, you're right. It is not a gun issue, and what bothers me is that you talked about the fact that we elected these representatives, and once they seem to get elected, about a year or two in, all of a sudden they seem completely entitled to whatever it is they think they're entitled to, and the hell with the rest of the constituents and what they want. And that's particularly true in the Senate. I mean, you get a 6-year term. My God, you can do anything you want. Versus Congress, your congressman's a little more responsible.
Well, no, but that's the problem with I think we need a better balance. I think 6 is too many. I think there should both be 4 and 4, alternated on half and half.
Well, because 2 years.
The thing of it is, a congressman with a 2-year sentence.
He's always running.
He's done, and he always needs money.
Yes, he is always running. He's running. He can never stop. That machine continues and continues. And I agree.
Unless you're like John Banner and you live in a gerrymandered district.
Well,
he had no competition. He didn't have to run.
That's right. You have that. You have that on both sides. You've got, those districts, depending on how they're divided and the way they work. We've got that here in California. I mean,
believe me. I think it's significant that by 2016 the minimum wage in California will be $10 an hour, which is not enough money, but still it's $10 an hour. It's $1,600 a month. If you can find anywhere in California you can live for $1,600 a month, call me.
Yeah.
You basically need 2 incomes of $1,600 a month. Then you have the basic survival in gross income a month of $3,200 a month.
Right.
And that will get you a car, insurance. It will, if you manage your money, you can go out at the movies and go to dinner every once in a while. But I mean, I deal with kids every day, and part of the thing I'm doing right now, they have to do a budget, and then they have to tell me what kind of job they think will provide that level of income, and it's a shocker when they look at it.
When they really go, look what Mom and Dad has been providing for me all these years, and I had no clue. So they're starting to learn a little bit about that, and that's a good thing. One of the things, again, I'm trying to bring us back to the discussion. For the first time, Starbucks, we started to talk about it, and we talked about it a little bit. They've been pretty.
They don't want guns in their store.
So they said. Yeah, and it was mostly addressed to the open carry states. Those people that were open carry, were going into Starbucks, and I guess they too bent to the pressure because there's one of the things that many gun owner organizations pushed was support Starbucks because they were pro Second Amendment, and I've seen T-shirts.
I think they still are.
Not anymore.
So what's happened here? My question is, and I said I put it out, I believe on Facebook today. I want whoever sees the very first sign on the door on a Starbucks store that says no firearm. Okay, because
they got real nasty when I was working for them about nobody smoking tobacco within 20 feet of the door.
Okay, we got a caller. Hang on. Hello, caller. You're on.
What?
Who's this?
I'll give you 14 guesses.
Oh, Bob. Our favorite guy. It's Bob.
Bob, how you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. You look pretty good, but I can't say the same for the 2 guys over behind you. They look like they got chicken pox all over them.
It's the gene pool mixing,
there is
Bob.
something going on with their video. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's odd, huh?
Yeah, it's different. Starbucks, you guys talk about what they're saying. And, if they don't like people coming into them, they don't want guns in there. Then if you got a concealed carry permit, if they post it on their door, then that means you don't go in. With a gun.
And not to categorize, having worked at a Starbucks in Bakersfield, and most of the guys that came in with guns were Highway Patrol and Kern County Police.
Gotta ban them; they're dangerous.
Jonathan,
anyway,
off the air.
My point, though, goes
I don't
back.
think too many.
Are they going to put it on the door?
People are really Starbucks fans, and I think that they're also more frugal with their money, and to pay $2.25 for a mediocre cup of drip, or pay $5 for some fufu shishi thing, it's not really in their lifestyle. And I'm not trying to, just flat categorize. I just don't see them as a huge Starbucks consumer.
Who?
Someone that would open carry.
Oh, no, they are.
Lifestyle that fits. And I mean, maybe in Arizona and other places where you can carry.
You go into the South, you go anywhere into the South in those areas. These people open carry. Now, yes, sometimes you push it.
Also, I think if you look at a map, Starbucks doesn't have the proliferation in the South that it has in the North and Northeast.
True. Yeah, it's true. But anyway, so Bob.
Yes.
Give me your opinion. What do you think about what took place at the Navy Yard?
Well, you want my personal opinion? It looks like we have a disgruntled black man, but it won't ever be reported that way because they only report the opposite. But in the same sense, I want to know, in the most secure place in the world, like everybody says, how do you get in there with more than one gun?
He didn't have more than one gun.
Yeah, he didn't need more than one gun.
He had a plan. He was a very bright guy. He brought one gun to then disarm security and take their guns and ammunition. He bought a shotgun, and he attacked two security guards first, and then took their weapons. Bright guy. I mean, and no amount of gun control, background check. As long as you could get one gun, he had a plan to accomplish the rest of what he wanted to do.
That's true.
And my only defense, Bob, is I don't think
he has an AR. He had an assault rifle. You heard that right off the bat.
Right, and it came out later that no, he did not.
Well, no, all he came with was a shotgun that was broken down that he reassembled in the bathroom.
Right, but
he shot an AR the day before at a gun range.
Okay, go on, Bob. What was that that you said?
I said that if you look at the latest things I was reading here, the mayor and the chief of police in Washington or whatever it was, they still say he had an AR.
Oh,
they
well.
Can't find it.
Yeah,
they said he had an AR.
Well,
even though the FBI had their meeting and said no.
No, the problem is with the mayor and whoever else popped up there, they don't have any firearm knowledge, so they just spew. They know this, thanks to Feinstein, they know these letters and numbers, AR-15. They don't know what it is. They still say clips instead of magazines. We've even had one Democrat in some stupid state said, well, when all the bullets are all shot out of that magazine, it's all dead. So what's the problem?
That was New York, by the way.
I mean, the fact is that they don't really know. All they know is, and I keep saying they're picking at the low-hanging fruit, what happens to be guns, is all they think is guns are evil, and everybody that owns a gun is evil. And we're getting into a point with our Fourth Amendment between NSA, HIPAA, and all these other things. Our privacy is not so private anymore, and it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Privacy's dead. It's time to move on,
And if you expect that gun control, if you really think that putting more laws in place is going to stop somebody like this guy that went in the Naval Yard and killed those poor people, you're out of your friggin' mind. There is nothing more that could have been done to stop this from happening. We are not at a point where John brought up Great Britain. We are not Great Britain. We're not Canada. And interesting enough, my friends in Canada are saying, guess what? They are turning more pro-gun again, and they're getting their guns a lot of their gun rights
They never
back.
gave them up. Canada has a per capita gun ownership equal to or greater than the United States.
Well, they had a different resolution when they handled it. It's even getting more so now. So
but the
point
Canadians have, and Bob, just to roll back a little bit, I agree with you that this happened to be a disgruntled black man, but we've had disgruntled white people. We have a disgruntled somebody doing this every 2 weeks in the United States. And I don't know if you were in earlier. My issue is it's got nothing to do with guns. It's got everything to do with the moral character of this country. And we don't care. It's okay. Well, the Congress, wants to defund Obamacare today. Not a word was said about anything, outside of taps and a little memorial. We all go, that was too bad. We let them. We don't care that we really enjoy or we. And then the issue of if it's not guns, which it's not, more guns isn't going to fix it. Less guns isn't going to fix it, right?
Right.
I mean, the gun. It comes down to the argument of the NRA 30 years ago. It's not guns, it's people. We need better people. We need to, And then let's make a database of all the crazy people, so we know where all the crazies are. So we're going to database again and violate Fourth Amendment rights to privacy.
Zero on the number line, because and same way with Sacramento, we are just as bad here in Sacramento, and I think their collective IQ is at a minus number.
Well, and we mentioned, I don't know if you were on with us, I brought up the fact that we're just turning out to be pretty nasty, pretty ignorant people when people call the new Miss America. She's an Arab. She's a she's an East Indian. And probably is at least one. She's probably a first or second generation American under the.
What's interesting in this, I can't figure this out. That people would even look at her and even think to say something like that. I mean, I grew up in a household that there was no way in the world. We went to school with a lot of people of color and a lot of different people, and never in my life would I ever look at that lady and think she's got dark skin, she must be black or Indian or something. Not once. I looked at her, I would say, she's a beautiful woman, good for her. Color
and Bob,
doesn't play a role.
And I don't know if you remember, I mean, we're all up in the Sacramento area post 9/11, okay? And the Sikh community in Sacramento and Yolo County came and got on KCRA to say, we're not Muslims.
Right.
And it would be a good idea that you leave us alone.
Yeah. Well, the trouble with this country, we have introduced the word race in every document we have, and that should never be there. You want to be you're an African American?
Well,
no.
In the 60s, that was the word.
I think Bob brings up a good point.
Creed.
Wait a minute, John, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me bring the point. I think Bob has a point, and I think you will probably agree with this. When I'm second generation. When my grandparents came over, they chose to learn English, not speak their spoken, their main language. They chose to be assimilated. They wanted to be Americans. They weren't Russian Americans. They were Americans, okay? And that's what they chose. And that's the way the immigrants in the early years coming over here, they wanted to be part of the country. They wanted to be Americans. That was the whole idea.
Although they came, and I agree with you, but on the East Coast, when my parents came, second generation, same thing. My mom lived in the Romanian section of Youngstown, Ohio.
Right.
My dad lived in the Slav section of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right.
You kept your ethnic community.
Right.
But your desire was to assimilate and be an American.
Right. Exactly.
See, I just think the experiment's over. To quote Dante's divine comedy, all ye who enter here abandon all hope.
Well, gosh, Jonathan, I certainly hope you're wrong. I think
how
I think what look what the three of us, the four of us with Bob on the phone right now. look what we're doing. We're having a discourse right now talking about different things that you do not hear on NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, any of the others, because we can take and Al Jazeera. Anyway, we're able to take a roundtable discussion and go from one area to another and talk about what our concerns are about this country. And you know what? I'll take a minute. If anybody else is watching this show, hit that donate button, please. I'll throw that ad in there. But no, the fact is, we are bringing to you, that's it, we are bringing to you information of just what we want to talk about. And you don't see us just beating each other down. We may not agree with everything what we say, but this is what's important about us. And Feinstein, that's what makes us real journalists, okay? We're bringing information to people, and I don't care if you watch the show or not. We have a right to our opinion, and we're going to share it. And Feinstein
should get primaried, and Feinstein should have a reasonable Democrat run against her.
Yes,
which will never happen, unfortunately.
And Boxer too. Far too long has But the problem is that, and no offense to the three of you guys, usually the Republican that gets run up against them is such a bad candidate, and it's so flawed that the issues lose their sight.
It comes down to
and I don't know how
dollars and cents. It comes down to dollars and cents.
Okay, let's vote for Pelosi again.
Yeah, well, they don't know any. They can't raise enough money to beat a Democrat because of the way the voting situation is in those districts, in those areas. It's impossible. They're entrenched Democrats. They vote party. They don't vote with their brains, and that's the problem. Now, I think you said something that I really liked. I hope that they do find some smart, intelligent, reasonable Democrat to run against them, because Feinstein, as well as Boxberg, but Feinstein in particular, thinks she runs the whole damn country. And it's time that she gets spanked and go away.
Unfortunately, that's political suicide to do it against her.
She's one of the greatest arguments for term limits I've ever seen.
You got that right. She really is. There just has to be a limit. And when you get to that point, she's entitled. She thinks she can do. She's the queen of the country. Ask her.
So she's the female
no, and she does get very self-righteous and all that. I have to say though, Bob, and you're not wrong about bringing race into the situation. The only problem is now that race is, and it applies to Feinstein. Race now encompasses so many different things, including the LGBT community, which is a gender, but it's not a race, but it is when we start talking about equal civil rights, okay? And it's difficult and I have to admit I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it because all four of us here are white.
Right.
And so we say race, and the reality of it is, and a certain, and I'm certainly not choosing Bob out over this, and I find it, I'm uncomfortable to say race, because the fact of the matter is that ethnic diversity in the United States has made us a shrinking minority.
True.
And that's I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's
just the
ebb and flow.
The way it is.
That's the ebb and flow of evolution. Okay.
But I take surveys to supplement my income and also to skew them. And now, are you Hispanic? And then they ask you about race.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Diaz's in Bakersfield. So race is such an issue, but it is a genie that is out of the bottle. Because give me a good definition of race from all aspects and angles of race, which is now so diverse. We have become the ultimate melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't do that anymore. When I put down Native American, and they say, "You're not Native American." I say, "Yes, I am." I says, "My family's been here since 1500, late 1500s."
Close enough.
As Native as anybody else, if you want to do it.
That's for sure.
But when I teach in Hispanic high schools, and I say to them, I'm second generation, they look at me and they go, how could that be, man? You're white. I go, we did not all come over with Bob's people on the
we
boat
did not.
in 1500.
Bob belongs to a group that I wish I could belong to, but I can't. Haven't been here long enough.
His mom's, DAR and all. That's great
right.
stuff.
That's right.
And we had a moral, and the DAR and the founders.
SAR in this case, yeah. Sons of the American Revolution.
So it is not. The issue is they cared about other people. We had a lot more caring about other people. And Bob, the thing that my argument was, like I said, it's not more or less guns; it's better people. We have to care more about people that get mowed down in public, and the media and the government can't even tell us I still don't know exactly what the kid used in Newtown. Yeah. Because there was a misreport, and they found a gun here, and they found a gun there, and nobody. And in Newtown, have you noticed all of these public killings? They're like hot in the news for 2 days, and then they just go away.
Well, yeah, because they're going to go on to something else. But I think we've got 1 minute to go here to wrap up the show, and I just want to take a moment here. And, John, I think you have a great idea. We need better people. The problem is, let's come up with a solution. As I tell a lot of my people and people that I deal with, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So if you have a better idea next week, it'll be at the same time. Call us, 530-621-1210. It's on the screen. Bob, I want to thank you once again for calling us. You're always welcome to bring your point of view. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. Bye, Bob.
Bye.
So Bob went away on that. And anyway, folks, again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch us. It's been pointed out we had a little bit of a video issue today, and I'm not sure what happened. We'll dig into that. But that is an ongoing issue. We always have an issue of something. So
long letter to follow.
Yeah, it takes a lot of money to run these things, and we need you to help by donating. Please, please, please donate. We appreciate it. And also, go to our website if you have a topic, if you have something you would like us to talk about.
And you want to come on and talk about it.
Do it. Give
Plant
us
the
a
bomb.
call.
We'll explode it.
We're open for anything. I like to talk about multiple stuff, and we all do, actually, as you can see how this roundtable discussion goes. We never know. We'll start a day in N and Z, and it'll come somewhere in between. But once again, I want to thank you very much. John Manajasic, thank you. Jonathan Charney. This is Rob Charney for Old Guy Tech TV, Opinion versus Opinion, and we're out of here.